In this video, let's talk Chiefs versus Rams at Arrowhead, look at the final injury report, and talk about why this game could be closer than we think, even with Matthew Stafford and Kupp out of the game. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs, so I'm going to need you to sub if you're new, hit that like button, all that good stuff for YouTube, and let's get into this video, starting with an updated injury report, the final one. All right, so per Andy Reid's presser that happened earlier today, I'm recording this at 10:24 p.m. to be exact. His presser was like at noon, but he said Chris Lamons, Juan Thornhill, Kadarius Toney did not participate, and he was asked a little bit more about Kadarius Toney, like, hey, what's going on? We know it's a hamstring issue. Is this a new thing? Is this the same hamstring? Is it recurring from when he was with the Giants? And the answer is yes, it's the same hamstring that was bothering him when he was in New York. He missed weeks 3 through 7, I believe, with this hamstring injury, and basically, Andy Reid said the Chiefs have backed off on Kadarius Toney for the time being. I don't know how serious it is. I do think they're trying to get this under control and in theory would want Kadarius Toney in the postseason. So I think they're going to do what they can to just make sure he heals up and gets well so he can play and contribute in the postseason when it freaking matters, because we know the Chiefs are going to go there. Chris Jones did not participate, but do not fear. He was excused for personal reasons. Joe Thuney, good news here, was working back into the mix, and then Juju Smith-Schuster looked good and will be available, according to Coach Reid. He said he did a good job at practice and looked good. He will be available. Yep. Now, I found that interesting because Andy Reid said Juju Smith-Schuster will be available. He didn't necessarily say he will start. Could mean one and the same, and just that's how Andy Reid worded it. It could mean Juju Smith-Schuster's on a snap count of sorts, or might possibly just dress out and see some limited snaps to literally throw the Rams off their game plan so they don't know who to plan for and all that good stuff. I have no idea, but he said he will be available. But if you look at the injury report, Juju Smith-Schuster was a full participant all week, so he could very well be a full go and see the majority of the reps, which would never hurt because Juju Smith-Schuster alongside Travis Kelce equals very good things. W for win, not West Side, in case you wondered. The rest of this injury report, everybody on here was a full participant, including Lucas Niang. You see Lucas Niang on here. He was activated. He's on the roster. He may see some reps against the Rams on Sunday. I don't think he's going to start, but I think he could start working into the rotation. Now, if Joe Thuney doesn't end up playing, he didn't participate Wednesday or Thursday, was limited Friday, I would imagine the Chiefs' Swiss Army knife, Nick Allegretti, steps up and fills his role. Nick Allegretti is not Joe Thuney, but a healthy Nick Allegretti is probably better than an injured Joe Thuney, so I'm sure they will use discretion there with him, but something to monitor, and the rest of these guys should be good. If Juan Thornhill doesn't play or he's limited, we're going to see Deon Bush and Brian Cook, probably Brian Cook first, then Deon Bush, but they will both kind of work themselves into the rotation there. And then Chris Lamons, he was a full participant all week and then didn't participate Friday. Listed as questionable. He did have a concussion, so I don't know if he's just not clearing concussion protocol, but he's their best special teams ace that the team has. It's a loss on the special teams side of the ball for veteran help. So if he doesn't start, bummer for special teams, but with concussions, man, I'd rather them be safe than sorry. As far as the Rams injuries go, Brian Allen, their starting center, has been ruled out due to a thumb injury. Playing too much Xbox probably over the holidays. Tyler Higbee, their tight end, who has the most receiving yards on the season outside of Cooper Kupp, who is also out, by the way. I'm sure you know this, but he was put on IR after having to undergo ankle surgery earlier this month, so Cooper Kupp will not play. But if Higbee also doesn't play, that means both their number 1 and number 2 receiving leaders will not be in this game. Up next is linebacker Travin Howard, ruled out with a hip injury. Offensive tackle Ty Nsekhe and wide receiver Allen Robinson are both questionable with ankle injuries. Defensive tackle Ashawn Robinson has been ruled out with a knee injury. Another one of their centers, who I believe has been playing left guard, Matt Skura, is questionable to play with a knee injury. And a big one here, QB Matt Stafford is officially ruled out with a concussion/neck injury. Their second string QB John Wolford should suit up, but was on the injury report with a stiff neck. A neck injury of sorts. It's not funny, but a stiff neck is what they called it. I'm like, wow, a stiff neck? Okay. But he did not participate much in practice. I don't think this week, and because of that, third stringer QB Bryce Perkins, who went undrafted in 2020, may get his first career start this Sunday as he saw the bulk of first team reps in practice this week. So out of all the players on the injury report today, Sean McVay said Matt Stafford, Brian Allen, Travin Howard are out. Then Tyler Higbee, Ty Nsekhe, Matt Skura, and Allen Robinson are all questionable, but McVay seemed optimistic on all but Nsekhe, who will be a game time decision. McVay then said AJ Arcuri could step in at left tackle, and if you don't know who AJ Arcuri is, he was their 7th round draft pick this year. So basically their O-line is really banged up, possibly more so than the Chiefs O-line was in the Super Bowl against the Bucs. So not good for them, but that is why I think the Chiefs could possibly feast like it's Thanksgiving, because it is, during this game. Specifically talking about the D-line, I think Chris Jones has had 7 sacks in the last 6 games, and they are tied for 4th in the NFL with 32 sacks total, and they are also 5th in the NFL in QB pressures. I think they're going to have a field day in theory against the Rams' third stringer, Bryce Perkins. However, Perkins is an athletic, mobile QB, so we may see them doing some stuff like Malik Willis and the Tennessee Titans did with bootleg scrambles, RPOs, design QB runs, quick passes, all that stuff. So the defense need to keep an eye on that with Perkins because he can move. Stafford cannot, but Perkins can. But if they can contain Perkins and somewhat neutralize the run, which the Rams aren't too good at doing anyway, Perkins and company will more than likely be playing from behind in this game and will be forced to make things happen through the air, which I'm just not sure they will be good enough to keep up with Kansas City doing. I mean, let's look at some of the Rams' offensive statistics, starting with the run and why I don't think the Chiefs will need to worry too much here. The Rams are 32nd in rushing attempts, 31st in rushing yards, 25th in rushing TDs, 31st in yards per attempt at 3.4. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' defense is 5th overall against the run in total yards allowed, but middle of the road in yards per attempt at 4.8 though. But let's be honest here. Cam Akers is no Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, or Josh Jacobs, previous running backs that the Chiefs have played this season. Now, the Rams offense in the passing game is, again, without their star wide receiver Cooper Kupp and without QB Matt Stafford, and they're also struggling this year as well, largely due to an absolutely decimated O-line. I read somewhere that every game this season has seen a different combination of offensive linemen of their starting 5 to some degree, which is insanity. Anyway, their offense is 30th in total yards, 22nd in touchdowns, 29th in points scored, scoring only an average of 16.8 points per game, and 24th in red zone TD percentage at 50%. Now, the weak spot for the Chiefs defense, I've mentioned this several times, but it's their young secondary. They are 31st in the NFL at allowing TDs in the red zone at a rate of 69.7%, 31st in TDs allowed, and are 20th in points per game allowed at 23.3 points per game. Thankfully, though, the Chiefs defense is relatively healthy and pretty much firing on all cylinders for this one, minus safety Juan Thornhill, who's listed as questionable. We talked about him earlier, but I'm not too worried about the defense here and think they will be able to limit the Rams to under 20 points, closer to their average points per game scored, which is 16.8. More on that later, and that should be more than enough to get the job done. Now, if we switch sides here and look at the Chiefs offense versus the Rams defense, this is where things need to be watched a bit more closely because I think this is where the game will be won or lost. Last time these two teams faced off in that very high-scoring game in 2018, Aaron Donald sacked Mahomes twice, which were both strip sacks, and Mahomes threw 3 interceptions. And by the way, that game was absolutely crazy. The Chiefs defense made Jared Goff look like freaking Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it was unbelievable, and it's not going to look like that, but if you get a chance to rewatch it before Sunday, go ahead because it is a thriller, even though the Chiefs sadly lost. Anyway, if the Chiefs offense can limit turnovers and play a clean game, I think the game should not only end up being a win, but a decisive win. I don't know if we'll ever be like, oh God, I can't believe the Chiefs almost blew that game, although I think the game could be a little bit closer than we think. I'll explain more in a bit, but here's why I think the Chiefs get a decisive dub. The Rams defense, while having some great key players in cornerback Jalen Ramsey, linebacker Bobby Wagner, and defensive tackle Aaron Donald, have still struggled in areas. They are 17th in points allowed at 22.7 points per game, 16th in passing TDs allowed, and since the end of week 2, crazy stat, the Rams defense has only gotten 1 turnover, and not to mention they only have 3 wins. 7 losses. So I do think Mahomes will be able to have his way against this defense, though they will need to get the ball out quickly because Aaron Donald and unleash Travis Kelce because the Rams defense has allowed a rating of 108.4 against tight ends. Something else I'd like to see the Chiefs do is rely a bit more on the run game like they have attempted to and done pretty well the past 2 weeks with Isaiah Pacheco. That may be easier said than done though, because the Rams defense is the 4th best in total rushing yards allowed and also 4th in yards per attempt allowed at only 3.9. So the Chiefs could maybe struggle a bit in the run game and need to rely more on Mahomes' arm, but if that's the case, that's why it's possibly going to be a little bit closer of a game, but so freaking be it. The good news here is that Juju Smith-Schuster is back, to some extent at least. He could be on a snap count or something like that, but that's only going to help Mahomes with another solid target alongside Travis Kelce. And obviously, you can't forget about wide receiver Sky Moore, Justin Watson. They both stepped up last game, and they still have the very speedy MVS as well that has come up big at times, plus tight ends Noah Gray and Jody Fortson, who had a couple great catches each last week. And remember, the Chiefs' offense is a freaking juggernaut. Very dominant. Mahomes has thrown a touchdown pass to 10 different receivers, leads the league in passing yards and touchdown passes. They're 3rd in red zone TD percentage at 72.9%, 1st overall in first downs, though credit to the Rams. Their defense is like 3rd best in the league at preventing first downs, but I don't care. It's Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs are also 1st in average points scored per drive and 2nd in the league in percentage of drives ending in an offensive score, and then lead the league in average points per game at 30. Still with me? Blink twice if so. And that is why I think the Chiefs pull away with this win. Matt Stafford's out. Cooper Kupp is out. Their O-line is decimated with Walmart parking lot style replacements, and I think the Chiefs defense will be able to control the Rams offense and allow Mahomes and company the opportunity to best the Rams defense, though they are certainly no defense to sleep on. Aaron Donald, absolutely no joke, and Mahomes knows that. He remembers that and will need to keep his head on a freaking swivel with Aaron Donald in on every play. This may help you sleep at night though. The Rams only have 3 wins this season, beating the Falcons by 4, the Cardinals by 8, and the Panthers by 14. And let's look at these 3 teams' record. The Falcons are 5-6, Cardinals are 4-7, and the Panthers are 3-8. All teams with losing records, and that is why I predict the Chiefs to win this game, as well as everybody else and their mama predicts them to win this game as well. The Chiefs, this is crazy, are 15.5-point favorites to win this game, which is the largest line they have seen this season. And if history shows anything about how the Chiefs play other NFC teams this season, they could very well win this game by over those 15.5 points. After all, they scored 40 plus points on the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Bucks. However, I'm going against the grain a little bit here. I'm going to have the Chiefs win this game 27-17. I know. I hope I'm wrong though, and it's a complete blowout. The reason for my prediction personally is because the Chiefs defense, they just like to give up points, man. They've never allowed a team to score fewer than 17 points so far this season, though again, I hope I'm wrong here and hold them to less. A team that I thought they would not allow to score much were the Tennessee Titans. They had Malik Willis in there, no real receiving threat. They did have Derrick Henry though, but the Rams, they don't have any of that. They don't have no offensive star power at the moment, so I can't really see them scoring more than 17 on the night. And the reason I have the Chiefs only scoring 27, slightly below their average points per game scored, it comes with a caveat. Because the Rams' run defense is pretty solid, and when the Chiefs struggle to establish a decent run game, they tend to stall out a bit on offense. For example, in the 3 games this season, the Chiefs scored 20 points or less. They had well under 100 yards rushing in those games and lost 2 of the 3. Those games were against the Titans, Bills, and Colts. Against the Colts, they had 58 rushing yards, and Mahomes had 26 of those. Against the Bills, they had 68 rushing yards, and Mahomes had 21 of them. Against the Titans, they had 77, and Mahomes had freaking 63 of them himself, basically forcing the Chiefs to win that game on his lonesome on the final drive. You remember, it was like 3rd and 20. Then he ran the TD in and the 2-point conversion, but I digress about that game. Either way, they lost 2 out of the 3 of those, and that's why I hope and pray the Chiefs can keep the momentum of getting Pacheco involved in beating the statistics here against the Rams' run defense, because if they do not, that's why I think the Chiefs could put up under 30 points, even though I'm still going to give them a dub. I think they're still going to win by 10. I don't know that it's ever going to be super close, but if they establish this run game, give me a 40 burger. That sounds good to me. Something else to note here is that Ronald Jones will more than likely get his opportunity to play in this game, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting put on injured reserve this week, and we could very well see this man get some reps in this game. How many though? I honestly have no idea. Remember, 2 weeks ago, CEH started, or he was suited up rather, and he didn't see the ball at all. So that could very well be Ronald Jones' situation, although I hope they try to feed this man at least some so we can see what he has in the tank. What are your thoughts here on Ronald Jones? Do you think he will touch the ball on Sunday? If so, how many carries do you think he will get? Or do you think it's Pacheco all day, every day, and that's who they're going to roll with? Also, let me know what you think about my score prediction. I know it's a bit closer of a game, only a 10-point game. I hope I'm way off. Do you think I am? If so, let me know your score prediction in the comments down below. And until Sunday when I go live during the game for a play-by-play reaction, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?